Word plugin is the most used plugin, and that's where we have built further on for the contract flow application. And today we are going to focus on the clause library section. Uh, so today, let me just quickly hand it over to Vikram Chakrabarti, who will be taking forward for the session.
So you can see my screen now. And
Yes.
again, so yeah, thanks, Maddie, for that confirmation. So this is a contract. So unlike by the way, unlike other live sessions where I start my content, my presentation typically from the Avenir Contract Lifecycle Management home screen. Today, since we are talking really about Microsoft Word add-in and contract negotiation, hence I'm going to start from a redlined contract. So what you're seeing here is a contract which I have received from an external party. It's a master purchase agreement, and I can see if I scroll through this document, there's a bunch of red lines here. So there's so they've redlined the termination clause. I can see some things that have been striked off, and then if I go down again a little more, I can see something around confidentiality that has been struck off, it's been altered or edited. So essentially it's been redlined. Like as I was saying, when you receive such a redlined contract back, typically, you feel the need to reach out to someone internal, to legal or to, finance to, provide their thoughts or provide their language over this red line. Now, as I said, the idea is to empower you to be able to handle these red lines by yourself. But how do you do that? So let's see. Let's start with this one. So first of all, the termination clause has been changed or edited, so essentially redlined. So some language has been removed, some language has been added. Now, what you could do is you can simply delete off this termination clause completely. So, okay, you don't need it there because anyways, that's been redlined by the external party. And here's your word add-in. So if you're already familiar with the word add-in, with Avenir's word add-in, you will know, or you would have seen that there are two additional menu options here, Avenir CLM templates and Avenir CLM contracts. If you're not familiar with it, well, this is your Avenir word add-in. It's a simple Microsoft Word plugin that you can just install. It takes less than 60 seconds to install it. Now we will go in under Avenir CLM contracts, and we got this option here called clause library. So when I click clause library, now it shows me a library or a repository of all clauses which I can use to, replace these redlined clauses. So say for example, and these are all categorized. So let me just find where is it? Yep, here you go. So here's the category for confidentiality. Okay, and under that I've got confidentiality primary clause. You can see this here. I've got a confidentiality alternate, and I've got a confidentiality second alternate as well. Oh, sorry, this is a termination. I'm sorry about that. So yeah, let's go down to termination. So here's the termination section. There's a termination alternate and a termination primary. So what I will do is, in this case, I will choose the alternate and simply click insert as clause. Okay, so now what I've done is I have effectively added a new clause as a replacement to the redlined clause, or the clause that was redlined by the external party. So this is what effectively you're doing here is you're able to, bring in new and alternate clause languages to progressively negotiate that particular term with the external party. It is possible that, once you have added this alternate clause in and you send it back to the external party, it's possible that they will, probably not redline this as well. In which case, you still have the option like in the case of termination, that doesn't, it's not there here in my system, but you can see here under confidentiality there is a second alternate as well. So you have these options to define your first alternates, your second alternates, and your fallback. So the more number of alternate clauses you have, you can replace the language which has been redlined with these alternates, like go with the first alternate and then with the second alternate and so on. So what this is really helping you do is, be able to negotiate these redline terms by yourself without having to reach out to your corporate legal or to your corporate finance if it's a financial implication clause. And that also means that it's speeding up your process, because just you can imagine that if the external party agrees and accepts your alternate clause, okay, that means that negotiation is completed, it's successful. And so there is no need to have an internal collaboration with any internal stakeholders, because the external party has agreed to it. So that just speeds up and reduces one level of internal collaboration and speeds up your contract negotiation process. At the same time, as a contract manager, you feel empowered enough to at least handle certain level or a certain degree of negotiations by yourself, just because now you have the ability to use a clause library. And just to call out who maintains this clause library, the clause library basically is maintained by, as in these are pre-approved clauses. So obviously all of these clauses would have been approved by either legal or finance, and only after that they are uploaded into this clause library. So that also means that if you're using any clause from this clause library, like an alternate clause or a second alternate clause or a fallback clause, you are absolutely protected and assured that you're using a valid clause that has been approved by your internal governance board, and that it's not an obsolete clause or a clause that you should not be using. So that's again, a big peace of mind that you have. So you can just feel free and go ahead, use clauses from the clause library. So this is basically how you would use clause library in the process of negotiating your contracts. And in my experience with a lot of organizations where I have demonstrated this, and not just demonstrated, I have also have implemented our solutions, the clause library comes up as one of the biggest asks, because not just that it empowers you to negotiate clauses, not just that it speeds up the process because you are able to avoid one level of internal collaboration, but it also helps you with analytics. If you for example, if the system tracks that every time there is a termination clause which has been redlined, the contract managers bring in this particular alternate, and that is accepted by the vendors, right? So this is something that the system is able to determine and track and analyze. And so you get these, it builds that knowledge in the system that this alternate clause is the most, accepted alternate clause. And so we provide those kind of insights and analytics on dashboards, charts around most used clause, most negotiated clauses, and things like that. So that's again, that can be really helpful for you as well in the longer run. So yeah, so this is what I wanted to cover today. Again, I want to keep it short because Avni Live is supposed to be just a short, quick bite of information. I hope you found this useful.
I'm going to focus on the Microsoft Word plugin. And this time we are going to focus on how you can save the different versions of contract using the Contractflow application. So thank you, everyone.